Mr. City Attorney.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. No final action tonight.
Okay, we will adjourn the special meeting, and I'm going to call to order the regular meeting of the Folsom City Council for August 27th, 2024. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yeah, Council members Rodriguez.
Here.
Rohrbaugh.
Here.
Aquino.
Here.
Chalem-Cherla.
Here.
And Kozlowski.
Also here, and if everybody will please rise one more time and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are going to start the evening with business from the floor. Do we have any speaker requests?
Yeah, you have two requests to speak this evening under business from the floor. First request will be from David Reed. Second is from Gul Khan.
Okay, David, come on up. And just for anybody else who may think they would like to comment, the business from the floor is the opportunity to speak on items that are not already on the agenda.
Small one. There we go.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is David Reed. I'm a resident of Prairie Oaks.
The mic's not on.
I wanted to come tonight. Oh, there we go. Do you want me to repeat?
No.
Okay. I wanted to come tonight to thank the city for its prompt response to my outreach when I reached out regarding several dead trees that were in the city right-of-way near Catlin Park. In less than 24 hours, a city crew was there taking down the trees. When Folsom is called distinctive by nature, I think that applies to the city staff as well. A special thank you to Urban Forester Amy Nunez with the Community Development Department and Chris O'Keefe and Nick Coleman with the Parks and Recreation Department. I appreciated their attention to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reed.
Thank you very much.
Okay, our next speaker will be Gul Khan.
Good evening. My name is Gul Khan, council members. Thank you. I am here to represent today as the president of the Homeowner Association for Turnstone Community. We would like to bring your attention to intersection of Iron Point, eastbound, and Willow Bridge Drive. Over the past almost 2 years, we have seen a number of accidents in that area. Some of them were really major accidents. And there are multiple reasons for that: overspeeding, people not obeying the law, running the red light as well. But there is one technical issue that we have over there. That intersection is right next to the Folsom High School, and a lot of kids from Folsom High School as well, they come to that intersection and cross the road. And there is a curve between Folsom High School and this intersection. And there are some trees and some plantation on the side of the road, off of Iron Point Road. That creates a blind spot. And that blind spot is causing a lot of accidents and incidents over there because people are not able to actually see what's coming on the main, coming out of Iron Point, out of Turnstone Community. They're coming out and taking a right on Iron Point without looking that there's a traffic coming on the Iron Point Road as well. So we have few solutions as well. As a community, we have worked together and we have found few solutions as well, but 3 minutes are not enough to discuss all those solutions. So I would like to have a meeting with someone, with our community and myself, so that we can talk about those some of the potential solutions and avoid any future incidents.
Mr. Khan, maybe you can have a conversation with Mark and talk to the Traffic Safety Committee about that particular
Sure. Yep. Thank you very much.
recommendations.
Okay, we have one more request to speak from Joanne Brosh, but I wasn't sure if it just says planning. Did you want to talk under business from the floor or under the general plan amendment item? Okay, come on down.
Good evening. I'm surprised I'm not here about Kids Play Park. Mayor, Folsom City Council members, city manager, and city staff. I'm here tonight because as a council-appointed member at large of the Traffic Safety Committee, I see time and again where it appears as though forethought has not been exercised in the planning and development process, and I'm concerned. This opinion is mine and mine alone. This is not reflective of the entire committee's opinion. Examples: south of 50, 2 schools have been opened, and a park is about to open, seemingly without anyone in any entity even taking into consideration the installation of all appropriate crosswalks and other accompanying safety measures to provide safe routes to same. Numerous points of intersection of both trails and roadways, with downhill parkways, wide, expansive roadways with medians, have been brought before the Traffic Safety Committee in recent months. One trail had a line of sight issue and signage issues created during construction. 2 other intersections now involve school-aged children being required by FCUSD to cross Mangini Parkway with no assistance, no safe route, just to get to their bus stop on the other side. All of these downhill parkways are experiencing easily anticipated speeding issues. In light of these examples and more, I'm respectfully requesting a change in process. I'd like to see more collaboration between entities. I'd like either every project, residential, commercial, new, redevelopment, including school and park site designation and development, to be required to come through the Traffic Safety Committee, or to have a member of the Traffic Safety Committee in attendance at every Planning Commission meeting to weigh in on such matters and to ensure inclusion of said components from project day one and as a condition of project approval. Traffic safety should ensure that all easily anticipated safety concerns are addressed and mitigated at project inception, with requirements for said project coordination as build-out occurs, and such that all elements would be in place for final approval prior to the open. All these elements identified would be paid for by the developing entity, even if the actual component procurement and installation of being handled in conjunction with the Public Works Department. It is my opinion, based on nearly 2 years of observation on this committee, that duplicative staff time, general and other fund money and resources are potentially being wasted by the current approach of waiting until after the fact, or the installing only as requested approach to making many of these installations. There may always be one-off situations unknown during planning and building that residents would need to still bring to our attention. But this should be the exception, not the rule. If you are putting new things in, you could and should be able to pre-identify that people shouldn't have to beg after the fact for a safe route to get to them.
Joanne, you're at your time. Please wrap up.
In conclusion, we should be more proactive, not merely reactive. The timing when these things get done, go in, needs to be reevaluated, and the general fund should not ever foot the bill after the fact for items that should have been an integral part of the original development process, again, paid for by the original developer. I believe this change in mindset can result in significant savings in salary and general fund expenditures. We can and should proceed collectively to do better, plan ahead, and work smarter. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have no further requests to speak under business from the floor.
Okay, that takes us, is there any agenda updates this evening?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. There is additional information transmittal for items 12 and 17, pardon me. A copy has been previously provided to you, and they are also available on the table in the back.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a fairly robust consent calendar to approve. Is there anything any council member would like to pull for discussion?
Nobody wants to pull anything. I'll move consent calendar number 1 through 16,
I just have a comment
On which item?
on 12.
with the exception of 12.
Okay.
I just make a comment, that way we can move it on.
I think we still have to pull it, right?
No.
Yeah,
I don't have.
the boss said yes.
Boss,
If it's brief, please make your comment.
let's pull it.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve all but item number 12,
Second.
and a second. Can we call the roll?
Council members Rodriguez?
Yes.
Rohrbach?
Yes.
Aquino?
Yes.
Chalem-Chella?
Yes.
And Kozlowski?
Yes. Okay. Resolution number 11246, or?
Yeah, 246.
Yeah.
I know this is a pretty big dollar amount here. It's more for us and Elaine. It's almost $4.7 million procurement. Yes, we have done a reasonably decent outreach, but when it is such a big procurement, we as a city explicitly reaching out to the people who does the similar business in the region. Right now, we only have two competition, and 4.7 millions and 5.2 millions. So again, that's my request. If at least we can get the more people putting their requests, we will have a better dollar amount. Even we could have saved a couple of $100,000 by creating more competition. So I just making that comment.
Okay.
Our analyst explicitly, I just want to qualify that word explicitly, not just putting on the website and putting on the on our website or on the C clips, but analysts reaching out explicitly.
Would you like Mr. Yasutake to talk about the outreach efforts, or you just wanted to make that comment?
Marcus, why don't you, maybe you could answer two questions. Is there a robust market of tank builders out there in the world? And then maybe just describe the outreach you may or may have done.
All right, thank you, Mayor Kozlowski, Marcus Yasutake, Environmental and Water Resources Director, and Council Member Chalam Chaler on Council. We did two things with this project in terms of outreach. We advertised it in the Sacramento Bee, and we had it included in CIPlist.com. We have learned since that there is another opportunity that we've used on a recent project to publicize projects in two places, so we'll be carrying that forward now that we've got another location that has a city account associated with it. In the past, related to tank repair projects, we typically get maybe 3 to 5 that would bid on this type of project. There aren't many in California that do this type of work, and most of the companies that we work with or have worked with in the past that would bid on a project typically are those that would construct the tank from the ground up, or new tanks. There aren't as many that are what we might say are in the rehabilitation process of steel tanks, but there are several out there. And so, but we did not on this project go and find all the specialty rehab tank type of contractors, because this work has several different components. One is structural, one is coating and painting, and the other is electrical. So finding, I guess we'd have to broaden to go then to each what we might feel is subcomponent of the project, and typically this comes under one main general A contractor, and they would then have subs that do different parts of the project.
Got it. Good?
Yeah, I just want to give my point out there.
Okay. Very good. Thank you
All
for
right,
that
thanks.
clarification.
I will move adoption of resolution number 11246.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Rohrbaugh?
Yes.
Aquino?
Yes.
Chalam Chaler?
Yes.
And Kozlowski.
Yes. Okay, that takes us to our first public hearing.
Okay, public hearing tonight is the City of Folsom 2035 General Plan Amendments for Increased Residential Capacity Project and related actions. You have 3 resolutions before you tonight, as noticed on the agenda. Resolution number 11250, 11251, and 11252.
Will we ultimately need individual actions on these, and are these first readings, or just we would be approving them directly?
Mr. Mayor, no first reading necessary, but separate actions, please.
Very good. Thank you.
Mayor Kozlowski, members of the City Council, I'm Desmond Parrington, Planning Manager in the Community Development Department. I'm here before you tonight with several amendments to the general plan and the Folsom Plan Area Specific Plan, as well as the environmental review accompanying that, which was an EIR. This is part of our housing element implementation to make sure that we stay in compliance with state law and continue to be in compliance with state law going forward. As you may recall, jurisdictions in California are all required to do an 8-year plan called the housing element to address their community's housing needs. Because we have more vacant land than some in our region, we got an aggressive allocation of over 6,000 units, of which 3,500 were for affordable housing. In other words, lower income households, typically, those folks that earn 80% of the area median income, which is about $62,000 for a household of a two-person household. So as part of this effort, did I forget to put it to the,
Yeah,
sorry.
I just sent it. That's okay. I just sent it there.
Yeah,
for
thank you.
You're welcome.
As part of this effort, it's not about actually constructing the units, because that's ultimately the development community's responsibility. Our responsibility is to make sure that we have sufficient sites available for that type of development in our community. One of the new changes in state law that has come about in the past few years has indicated that if there are changes in your sites inventory, so we've identified all these sites where we're going to accommodate this growth. But if those sites that we've identified for affordable housing ultimately end up developing as, for example, luxury apartments or luxury condos, then we can't count that site anymore, and we have to quickly find a replacement site for that. It's called a no net loss provision. And as you can see, even though we adequately planned for this housing element cycle, we have continued to see both affordable projects, which is good, which is added to our inventory, but also ones that have not developed as affordable housing, even though we had anticipated that site could be used for affordable housing. And so we want to avoid a situation where we fall out of compliance with the housing element, because that can have ramifications in terms of grant funding and transportation funding and so forth. So what we're doing is part of our housing element implementation, which talks about focusing additional capacity in key areas of the city. These are generally areas where housing would be close to jobs, to services, and to existing transit, and also in areas where it could have an economic impact in terms of supporting existing stores and businesses here in Folsom. So we focused on the East Bidwell corridor, the areas around our Glen and our Iron Point Light Rail Station, and down in the Folsom Plan area, specifically in the Folsom Town Center. And so what we'll be doing is modifying our land use element in the general plan, and also amending the Folsom Plan area specific plan to allow for additional housing and to ensure that we've got enough sites going forward. One of the challenges that we face, and I'll share with you a little bit of an anecdote, when we went out to, when ULI, as part of an effort that we were doing in the Central Business District, that's the Urban Land Institute, when they went out to interview Folsom High School students in an architecture and engineering class about whether they planned, after they completed their education, after college and so forth and grad school, would they be coming back to Folsom? And they asked how many people were planning on doing that, and no one raised their hand. And the ULI members asked, well, why not? And the students responded that they didn't believe that they could afford to live here. Mm-hmm. And that was a really kind of shocking response and raised concern, because obviously those students are our future. And as you can see here with folks that are in our workforce, they're barely able to afford a one-bedroom apartment here in Folsom with the escalating cost of home prices and rents. So that is really the challenge facing us, is how do we plan for the future if the very folks that we want to stay here and contribute and be part of the economic engine of our community aren't able to afford to live here. The other challenge that we have is that much of our workforce that actually works here commutes from outside of the area. Part of that is obviously choice, but part of that is the affordability. And that contributes to some of our traffic challenges as we have more and more people that can't afford to live here commuting into Folsom. So what this project does is it looked at key areas of the city, the East Bidwell corridor, which you can see in the kind of the multicolors here, the area around the Glen Station, the Iron Point Station, and then the Folsom Plant area. The idea was to put people, like I said earlier, close to jobs, services, and transit in an area where they're less likely to be as car dependent as other areas in the city. And they could take advantage of some of the improvements, for example, to light rail, where we may see 15-minute service toward the end of the year. As you can see here, this is an aggressive target. No one's saying that this is easy, but again, we're trying to do this strategically so that it has the best potential to help focus the growth in areas where there would be less traffic and more economic benefit.
So just to clarify, can you go back on screen?
Sure.
So there's about 600 less housing capacity units than the current regional needs housing assessment?
That's correct. Mm-hmm. And what we're doing is we're taking two actions here. Our current supply, which we have in our housing element, our current land supply is diminishing because of market rate development, luxury. So we know that we've got enough sites right now, but at the rate that it's shrinking, we know that pretty quickly we won't. So this is kind of planning in addition to that. And so what we're trying to do is set the city up not just for the current housing element, but for the next housing element cycle going forward.
Got it.
Because this is a long-term effort. These units aren't going to somehow appear overnight. Many of them will take years or decades to develop over time. And so we expect, because we're one of the few cities in our region that is growing a lot, that we will get another similarly high regional housing needs allocation again in the next housing element cycle starting in 2029. And so we wanted to be prepared and not caught on the back foot and not in a situation where we have to scramble to rezone, probably because you have 6 months to rezone sites if you fall out of compliance.
Got it. Thank you.
Councilmember Rodriguez, I'd also point out that the table on the slide Desmond just talked about is what's being proposed in addition to what we currently have. So that's a result of this project, and that number would add the capacity to our current numbers.
So the 6363 number from 2021, this is in addition to those.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, get it. I got it.
And really, it boils down to a land supply issue.
Okay, thank you.
One more quick question, Desmond, on that. I know I mentioned during the agenda review, we have to build 3,500 workforce housing.
We have to make sure that we have enough land and sites for it. Yes.
Not build, but
Yeah, sorry.
And so far, we built a number. I know. Do you have that number? I know we were
Yeah,
talking.
I actually have that at the end of the presentation, which I can go over. Thank you. So tonight's discussion is really about the amendments that we're doing to our general plan and specific plan. The one that's a little bit maybe out of place here is the mobility element, but I'll explain why we're doing changes to the mobility element as well. So all of this was done, and then we did an environmental analysis as well. So again, we made changes in the land use, made changes to the land use in the specific plan area, and then the mobility element, we added policies related to traffic calming, the roundabout first policy, again, which is all about traffic management, because we know, as we grow as a city and we add more units, traffic becomes more and more of a concern. This is a way to, again, keep traffic moving, but also a safer way of doing that, and that helps to support all modes. And I'll talk a little bit more about this in the presentation. The other thing that we're doing along with this, and this will be coming to you in the next month or two, is that we are developing objective design standards. You may be familiar with the state laws that have now made it so that jurisdictions can only evaluate multifamily or apartment projects with objective standards. We cannot no longer use traditional design guidelines. You have to use objective standards. The city does not have that currently. So we're putting these in place specific for these targeted areas to make sure that when development does happen, that happens to be more intensive, that it is designed well and helps to enhance the area rather than detract from it. And again, it's going to look at things like building form, articulation, step backs, some of the things that are highlighted here in this illustration. In terms of the land use element, what we've done is we've added a new transit-oriented development overlay. This will allow for people that want to do residential regardless of what their base zoning is. So, for example, if they have commercial zoning, they could continue to do commercial businesses, but they would also have the ability to do residential. The East Bidwell Corridor overlay has been modified as well, and then we are doing that to the town center overlay in the Folsom Plan area. Again, we're establishing a minimum density of 30 dwelling units per acre because the state will not allow us to count sites that have a density less than that towards our low-income housing allocation. We've also established policies that allow for greater flexibility, so we can work with the development community to help realize those objectives.
I just have a question. So on the Folsom Boulevard Transit-Oriented Development Overlay, is that going to be a ministerial change if somebody has a commercial property that now they want to add housing to it? Is it ministerial, or does it still go to the Planning Commission, to the council for approval?
It currently would continue to go to the Planning Commission and or the City Council, depending on the level of entitlements that they're seeking.
And so here's my question, because this is one of those issues that comes up as we approve housing. If the project meets the qualifications, then it seems like if we were to say no, we don't approve it, we put the city in jeopardy of a potential lawsuit, correct?
Correct.
And so So at some point, do you foresee that becoming ministerial, where if it meets the checklist, then it just moves into the next phase without going to the planning or city councils? Because it just seems that it comes to us, but we're really forced to say yes, or we put the city at risk of a lawsuit.
Yes, and
a very expensive lawsuit at that.
And the Planning Commission just dealt with a similar issue where their hands were effectively tied because of the new state laws. So we will be looking at that as part of the zoning code update. And because in talking with different communities, some have said, well, we still want it to go to the Planning Commission or the City Council so the public is aware of the project. But other cities have said, well, there's other ways of accomplishing that. We can put that on our website. And then we can do it at the staff level. So that's one of the things that we'll be looking at and discussing with you all as part of the zoning code update.
Because just to give a feedback, just from one from I think it was about a year and a half ago. I think when it comes to the Planning Commission or the councils, what it gives is the public a false hope that if they fight, they're going to potentially overrule it. And what it does is it just gives them false hope that. And it gets people emotionally worked up, only for us to be put in a position where if it meets the project, we must approve.
Yeah. Understood.
Yeah, okay.
So again, these are the areas that are covered by the transit overlay, or the transit-oriented development overlay that I discussed. Again, one of the things you'll see here is floor area ratio. Rather than a maximum density, we're using floor area ratio because it's floor area ratio deals with the size of the building related to the land. So if you have a 1 acre site, an FAR of 1 would be a building that covers the entirety of the site, but it could also be a 2-story building that covers half the site, to give you an idea. It helps to better communicate to the public kind of the relationship of the building to the land. Whereas if you said a 60 dwelling unit project, people often think, well, that's like a high rise, when in fact, that could be actually a really small building on a very small lot. Again, this is the areas shown with the East Bidwell corridor. One of the comments that we've gotten has been concern about the capacity in the central business district. We looked at the central business district as a whole in that area because there is a lot of aging buildings in there. It's an older section of town, and we kind of applied a redevelopment rate to that. Again, this is over time, and there are some constraints which we'll talk about to growth in that area as well. So while it does have a slightly larger allocation than the other areas, it does have the most potential to redevelop over time, and we're hopeful that by adding more housing units, it will help to support the retail there where we've seen quite a bit of turnover.
Can I ask you a question before you move on? Sure. So in this area, you're not proposing any commercial areas to a mixed use. This is all already zoned. The areas you're asking to rezone are already zoned as residential. You're just asking us to do a higher density.
No, they're actually, most of these areas are, except for the town center in the Folsom Plan area, most of these areas are already commercially zoned. And so we're giving them the option, if their businesses are no longer successful or if they have additional property that they want to develop on their same parcel, that they can now do that. They could add the housing or not in that area. So it doesn't prevent them from operating their business, from expanding their business, or from even going in and doing a new business here, but it gives them the additional option to do apartments or to do mixed use. A good example of that was the Bank of America building on East Bidwell. They ended up selling the back part of their property, which they weren't using, to St. Anton, and they developed Bidwell Place apartments there.
Okay, and so that's different than the two sites that were in the Folsom Plan area that are going from commercial to...
That is correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
just so I have that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So in the Folsom Plan area, we're looking at increasing residential capacity throughout the area, particularly in the town center. We're also, again, establishing a minimum density in that town center area and a maximum height and FAR for that area. This will also include the roundabout prioritization policies in the circulation section of that document. And then we did also a number of cleanup things to that specific plan just to make it easier to read and to use. So overall, we're seeing an increase there of 1,882 units. We looked at the infrastructure, and there is sufficient capacity within the existing and planned infrastructure to accommodate that level of growth. With regard to the sites that we're changing the land use designation on, Sites 233, which is currently general commercial, would change to mixed use. Site 2, which is currently industrial office park, would change to multifamily high density. Lot 15 would change from community commercial to multifamily high density. And then this area would change, lot 76, from multifamily low density to multifamily medium density. And then this does result in a net reduction of about 251,000 square feet of commercial space in the plan area. However, we've looked at the overall numbers here, and there's still a significant amount of commercial development potential in this area. The other thing that we did was we worked closely with the landowners in the Folsom Plan area to ensure that they were contributing their fair share towards helping us meet our housing element goals. And they stepped up really in a significant way. They entered into a memorandum of understanding with the city to not only make these changes, but also to deed restrict sites to accommodate almost 900 units of affordable housing. So that's in addition to projects like Mangiti Place Apartments, which are already affordable down there. So it means that their really helping us. This was voluntary. They did not have to do this deed restriction, but they agreed to do that, and we're assuming this is approved, and we'll be working with them to ensure that those deed restrictions are put in place. With regard to the mobility element, as I mentioned before, we are adding policies to prioritize the use of roundabouts at intersections. The idea, as you can see here in this illustration, is to keep traffic moving and avoid the congestion you have at signalized intersection, but also introduce safety because, again, going around roundabouts forces folks to slow down as they approach roundabout, which is beneficial for pedestrians and for cyclists as well. And you can't quite see it here, but the crosswalks are well in front of the roundabouts so that they're very visible to oncoming traffic. And again, the traffic is already slowing down because of the fact that they have to go around the roundabout. So this will help in terms of traffic management and help avoid some of the congestion situations that we have in key areas of the city. There's also policies related to traffic calming and then policies related to the adoption of a local road safety plan. In terms of the environmental analysis, we built on the EIR that was done for the general plan in 2018, as well as the EIR that was done for the Folsom Plan area in 2011. That's why this is referred to as a subsequent environmental impact report. And what it looked at was whether the environmental impacts that were from this project would be new or greater than what was already analyzed in the other EIRs that I mentioned. We looked at all of these areas in particular. I want to call out these are the areas where there were the potential for significant impacts. And with the use of mitigation, we were able to bring those significant impacts down to less than significant. So the determination was that there was no new significant impacts from this project. As required by SB 18 and AB 52, Assembly Bill 52 and Senate Bill 18, local jurisdictions, anytime they change a general plan or convert open space or are involved in environmental review, need to consult with the Native American tribes in our region. We did that. The one that requested consultation was the United Auburn Indian Community, and we engaged for over a year in consultation with them. We did add a number of implementation programs to address some of their concerns. Unfortunately, we were not able to reach agreement with them on what the changes that they wanted because they felt that there was a need to reopen the mitigation measures and the programmatic agreement that was done with all of the tribes for the Folsom Plan area. But there was no change to the development footprint, and there was no change, there's no conversion of open space. So we did not, based on discussions with our consultants, we did not feel that that was appropriate or warranted. Again, one of the issues we looked closely at was water supply. Obviously, this was a concern during the development of the planning for the Folsom Plan area. We looked at this closely. Again, the type of development that we're talking about is multifamily development, which uses about half the amount of water that a typical single-family home does. So it's much more efficient. And overall, looking at this growth, there are sufficient water supplies in the city's supply to serve this level of development. One of the other areas we looked at was wastewater. As you can see on this map, the green area indicates that there's sufficient capacity to serve development in that area. The yellow means that there's some localized improvements, often that can be done in partnership with the the developers. And then the red indicates that there are upcoming capacity issues once we build out beyond the current general plan. And so as a result, there were mitigation measures that were added, including the development of a wastewater master plan to look at the types of improvements and the funding mechanisms to make those improvements happen in the 27-inch shed. And that covers about half of the central business district there. And again, these are the mitigation measures that we've talked about. The other thing that we looked at was transportation and greenhouse gases. So just as a reminder, the law changed with regard to environmental review. The focus is no longer on congestion, but on vehicle miles traveled. So in other words, how far are you driving and how many trips are you taking? The analysis determined that this type of development is far more efficient in terms of vehicle miles traveled. People are traveling less because, again, we're putting people closer to jobs, services, and transit, as opposed to putting them in other areas of the city where they're bound to use a car for all their transportation needs. As a result, the greenhouse gas emissions are less, and again, this is a more efficient approach. So ultimately, there were no significant impacts. Now, again, that's not to say that we're not going to have more traffic as a result of that. We will. Our hope is that because we're putting people strategically in areas where they are closer to transit and jobs and services, they will be less likely to drive as much as other residents. And then again, with some of the traffic calming and traffic management measures like the roundabouts, the idea is to better manage the flow and to keep things moving to avoid congestion. Noise and vibration were also an issue that was identified. And again, these are fairly standard. We've got mitigation measures in there, and again, it was determined to be less than significant. So in terms of tonight's proposed actions, what this project does is really increase the minimum density to 30 dwelling units per acre in these areas. It establishes a new transit-oriented development overlay. It changes the land use designation for the Folsom Plan area, and then allows for increased residential capacities, particularly in the town center, and then increases the overall number of sites in the Folsom Plan area for mixed use and multifamily housing. Of course, the roundabout prioritization policies in both documents, and then ultimately we kind of streamlined and cleaned up the Folsom Plan area specific plan. We brought this forward to our Planning Commission on July 24th at a special meeting. We did that despite fairly aggressive public outreach, including email, social media posts, prior workshops. We did not have members of the public that came to speak. There was one comment letter regarding concerns over noise, but the commission did have some questions about the long-term sustainability of the city's affordable housing funds. That balance currently stands at $18 million. Again, that's not a state requirement, but I realize it is a concern in terms of helping to make those projects come to a reality. And they wanted the council to consider possibly at a future date looking again at the issue of rental housing and possibly requiring fees or construction of affordable units as part of rental housing development.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, what you just said?
Yeah, so one of the things that the Planning Commission talked about was in order to replenish our affordable housing fund or to ensure that we actually get affordable housing units built, they suggested that the city look at requiring rental housing developments to comply with the city's inclusionary requirements. So if you may recall, for when a single-family subdivision develops, they have to either pay a fee or build an affordable unit. And that fee is 1% of the sales price, average sales price, or the lowest sales price in that subdivision. And so that they were just concerned that we've got $18 million now, but going forward in the future, would we have enough funds or enough housing built to satisfy the state?
Yeah, I would agree with them on that.
They, again, liked the idea that VMT was reduced, but had concerns about traffic, understandably. There was another question because there's there's major triggers within the Folsom Plan Area specific plan that call for the construction of a wastewater conveyance facility by SAC Sewer to take the sewage down to the regional plant, and they wanted to know if that could be done earlier rather than later in the plan. That would ultimately be up to SAC Sewer because they would have to front the money to make that happen. Because while we are collecting impact fees for that, we don't have all the impact fees ready to start that construction.
Can I ask you a question? Do we collect standard impact fees for, is that statewide standard, the 1%?
Well, that's the property tax. So in addition to property tax, there are impact fees that are collected on all development projects in the city. The impact fees in a new area like the Folsom Plan area are much higher because of the fact that they pay for brand new infrastructure, new roadways, sewers, pipes, schools, all those types of things. So all the new facilities down there, parks and everything, and police and fire stations as well.
Okay, thank you.
There were also some questions about the consultation with the United Auburn Indian community. So ultimately, they voted unanimously with one member absent that night to recommend approval of the project. So tonight, the actions before you are to approve Resolution 11250, which is to certify the environmental impact report, the mitigation monitoring plan, and the CEQA findings and facts. Also to approve Resolution 11251 to amend the Folsom General Plan, and then Resolution 11252 to amend the Folsom Plan Area Specific Plan, and then finally to direct the Community Development Department to complete the objective design and development standards, bring those forward to you, and then also come back with the zoning code amendments necessary to implement this project. So with that, I'll conclude my presentation, but I do remember Council Member Shalom Sherla had questions about our progress in affordable housing construction. So with that, this shows our progress to date. This is from our last Housing Element Annual Report, which is through December of 2023. You can see that we've made we've more than met our above moderate target right here. And we're doing well so far on our moderate income, but where we were still quite a bit behind is on the very low and the low income target. And again, that's why we're here before you tonight, is to help address this. And so we still have a fairly significant shortfall there. Now, that's not to say that the city hasn't been doing work. There's been quite a few projects that you can see here that have been completed or under construction or that have been recently approved. And the city has stepped up significantly with its affordable housing fund to help to provide what's called gap financing to make projects financially feasible. So those affordable projects have been built. So these were all rental projects. In addition to that, we've got 84 condominium units that are deed restricted as condominium or townhome units that are deed restricted as affordable, in addition to the number that you see down there. And we've done those since 2005. So the city is definitely making progress, but again, we have very aggressive targets that we need to meet. So with that, I'll turn it over if there's any other questions that you have for
I just have a few more comments. One of them being that I really appreciate the work that you did in trying to communicate this to the public. And it's really unfortunate that they don't come and present their, like opposition at a planning commission meeting or city council meeting. But it's not until these homes are getting built that then we get this, oh my God, what's going on? And so, but I just want to let you know that I do appreciate the work that the city is doing to communicate the hefty demands that we have in creating affordable housing. And so that's my comment.
Thank you.
I have
Questions?
Yeah, I have concerns about, we already hear a lot from the public in Folsom Plan area about the lack of commercial space. My understanding is we're already booked out as far as the commercial space available. So my number one concern is shifting that commercial space to residential when, what I want to look at is the balance of making sure there's potential amenities south of 50 as there is north of 50, reduce traffic to balance out the city. And that's a big concern of mine. So I'm not sure how much of that 251,000 square feet of commercial space, what that equates to as far as mixed use housing, how much space that is, how many houses or units would that equate to?
Yeah. So just to give you a little bit of background on the commercial land within the Folsom Plan area. So the original plans started off in 2011 with 3.52 million square feet of commercial area. Then that was reduced down by almost a million square feet because there was an analysis done that basically said that there was actually too much commercial development or commercial land in the Folsom Plan area. I'll go back to the map here. Almost the entirety of the area here was to be kind of a regional shopping and destination area. And again, given the changes in the retail environment, that was significantly reduced. And so
Where were you pointing to, Desmond? Your pointer is not clear enough.
Sorry, it was up kind of in this area was all regional commercial.
A point without moving.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
So
Okay.
This
Very
area,
good.
which is already regional commercial, and then down into this area as well. So there was a big swath that went from here down to here, and then up to here. So it was like double the size there. And so then it kind of stayed that way until 2020. Until 2024. So we had 2.79 million, and then this reduction would drop it to 2.54 million. So we still feel that there is sufficient. It is, granted, it is centralized kind of in this area. This area that is changing from commercial, we do expect this area to be to come back before you. For that to become commercial. So we'll get some of that, we anticipate to get some of that back. I don't know if that answers your question. It's really about the land area. So this is anticipated to be about like 200 units there. So we would lose 200 of the units slated for the Folsom Plan area if we were to have that remain as industrial office park.
I think my concern still is valid to me, that we're losing that potential revenue. Balancing our residential capacity to our revenue, commercial revenue is important as a city as a whole. You know better than I do, but if we keep chipping away at our commercial areas in south of 50, it's pretty much going to be all residential except the town center or I don't think that's the name. Is that going to be the name? The town center? We don't know yet, do we?
They don't have it, the development doesn't have a name
That's
yet.
what we want.
Yeah,
I don't want to put that out there, so it's continual. But so that's my concern. I mean, is there a way to approve this without changing those commercials now?
Well,
So-
I think that we're not actually changing.
We're changing the
just
zoning, so it's not. It's going to be from commercial to residential or
Yeah,
high density.
In this case, we are. We're changing the land use
215.
designation from industrial, this actually should be industrial office park, to it would become multifamily high density. And this is being changed from community commercial to multifamily high density. And then this is being changed from up here, lot 233, that's being changed from general commercial to mixed use. So there was no reduction here. They will still have commercial development, but now they have the ability to do housing as well. In this case, right here and right here, we will lose the commercial development in that area in favor of housing. This was part of the discussions that we had with the Folsom landowners. They had to, because we needed their support to be able to do this, and they did not want to see other areas change in terms of the land use designation. So, like I said, we do anticipate that we will get some or all of this back in a future land use designation change up here. But this is the site that will be lost to residential development.
Industrial from 2 is industrial.
It is industrial. It would go to multifamily high density.
And 15. What is regional commercial compared to?
So regional commercial is it kind of like the name sounds. It's drawing from the region. So a larger shopping mall. So this site up here, where the UC Davis Hospital is, and where there's other commercial opportunities, that's regional commercial. That whole area is regional commercial there. And then this is, I believe, general commercial in this area. That's where Dignity is. That's where UC Davis is. But there are quite a few other parcels that can be office or commercial, as well as some housing too.
So is that 10 right below 15? Is that designated the same as 15 right now?
Oh, that's 16. Yeah, that obscures the number. It's 16, and that is also multifamily high density. It's already multifamily high density.
Councilmember Rohrbach, I would just add to what Desmond has explained that the landowners have requested this. We asked them to work with us on finding opportunities, and they looked at current and what they anticipate to be future market opportunities of the land since the original planning, and felt that these were better sites for housing opportunities, which is why we're recommending the conversion from commercial to housing versus, to a mixed use opportunity. So it was in partnership and in consult with the landowners based on kind of new conditions that they have understood in trying to market the property and, evolve with land development patterns that have occurred within the plan area. So I think that's the best we can do in explaining to you why we're here in front of you asking for the change.
I have a comment that's going to probably turn into a question. Go back to that slide.
With the question, and then come to the comment after we do the public.
All right, all right. The question is, up in the corner with the 233, so that's projected to be part of the Empire Ranch interchange, correct?
No, that site is outside of the area needed for the Empire Ranch interchange. This is part of the Folsom Heights development here that Elliott Homes is doing. Elliott Homes owns that property, and they agreed to have it changed from general commercial to mixed use, but there's still room for the interchange.
Okay, and the interchange being that sometimes there are commercial businesses around those interchanges?
That's correct, but they still have the ability at that site to do commercial development because it's mixed use.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Desmond. Very comprehensive presentation. Could you please go to that second to last slide where you show kind of the progress we're making toward our current numbers? Thank you. So do accessory dwelling units, otherwise known as granny flats for any member of the public, do those count toward any of these numbers?
They do. So we're allowed to, I think, by right count up to about 15% by right as affordable. Beyond that number, we have to demonstrate to the state that they're actually have rents that are at the income level stated here.
Okay. So I just want to summarize and make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So for our current 8-year housing cycle from 2021 to 2029, we're required to zone enough land for 6,363 housing units, of which 3,567 are supposed to be low income.
Correct.
This progress to date column, those are the units that have actually been built to date.
Correct.
Which leaves the right-hand column.
Yep.
So what we're doing today, we are rezoning things to do another 6,000 units on top of this.
Yeah, yes, that is correct, and there's two reasons for that. One is because we are we're concerned that we're, as I mentioned earlier, that we're losing sites within our inventory to market rate and luxury development. So that's issue number one. Issue number two is we're trying to position the city so that in our next housing element cycle in 2029, that we will not have to look at additional areas in the city, but we can use this inventory to meet our share of the regional housing needs allocation, Marina.
Right, and that's the part I'm struggling with a little bit because, so we zone for this 6,363 units. Come 2029, they're going to give us another number. Let's just say it's 5,000 or whatever the number is.
Yeah.
And so, but you said we can only use the same sites for 2 cycles.
That's correct, yes.
Right? So, I mean, it seems like I understand the whole no net loss thing and not wanting to be up against this clock where we only have 6 months to rezone something.
Yeah.
So I understand the desire to be proactive. But at the same time, it doesn't seem like there's an incentive to identify more than we need right now because we want those for a future 8-year cycle, right?
So we haven't identified these in our housing element. We're not proposing to change our housing element unless we get into a no net loss situation. So again, we're trying to be strategic about this to make sure that we don't, like you were saying, that we don't have a situation where, okay, now we've included them all in this housing element, so now we can only use them for one more cycle.
Okay, so we're just changing the zoning, but we're not actually identifying these right now as...
Yeah, we will only identify them and only enough for what we need to make sure that we don't end up in a no net loss situation and end up out of compliance with the housing element.
I got it now. Thank you very much.
YK, any questions?
Desmond, I don't know which slide number, either 7 or 8, the entire city of Folsom, you have nicely marked, not just the planning area. So somewhere you did.
This one?
Yes. I know the Planning Commission heard on everything. Anything on this side, not on the plan area, has been moved from regular to the high density, low income or workforce housing, any of those blocks?
So what we've done here is we've said what we're doing is we're not changing people's their base zone, what they can do right now.
Yeah.
So if they have a commercial business, they can continue to operate or expand or do a new commercial business. But this gives them the opportunity to do housing. But if they do housing there, it needs to be at a density of at least 30 dwelling units per acre. And then we would allow for higher heights, like around 3 to 4 stories along the East Bidwell corridor, and 4 to 5 in the Glen Station and Iron Point Station areas. And again, a lot of this came out of surveys that we did with the public back in 2022. We did surveys about, given that we've got to grow and we've got to accommodate this growth, where would you feel comfortable with higher heights? What heights would you, what size buildings would you feel more comfortable with? And we used that input to guide us in doing this.
Got it. I'm going to take a Glen Station. I think this is the Glen Station.
No, that's the Iron Point station.
Iron Point Station.
The second blue one there.
This one.
The blue one is Glen Station, yes.
And we didn't identify those as a new low-income housing as a part of this process.
So I know this gets pretty confusing, but all that we're doing right now is saying that we have sites, either vacant sites or sites that are underutilized and could be redeveloped. And and our hope is that they would do affordable housing there, but we're not requiring them to do affordable housing. Yeah. That's one of the challenges that we face with the state, is that we provide this land, we increase the density, we increase the height, but we don't have any guarantee that it's going to develop as affordable housing, and nor does any other city. The only way we'd be able to do that would be to buy the land and then, do a request for proposals and get an affordable housing developer to actually do it. That's the only way that we can ensure that it develops as affordable housing.
Got it. My only question is here assigned to this one. I know this goes alongside the Rosaria was mentioning. Public is going to come once the builder, plan identified, and all those. As a part of, this is the beginning. If someone wants to come, they can come all those neighborhoods and talk about it if we have done it. But the communication we are doing, Rosario, this is where I am. Is it the 350 feet still we are notifying the nearby residents since we are changing that and not many people know what we are doing except few people?
Yeah, so we are still using the 300 feet. We are looking in the new zoning code to expand that to 500. And we're also trying to put more projects on the city's website as well.
Yeah, that's the only problem. I'm seeing it. They only came to know, once the ground breaks and, the person comes, because other than one house, one street, no one else knows about this unless they are tuning into our, nighttime, these ones. That's my concern. But that's nothing to do with this one. But how can we do more broader outreach? That's my point.
Yeah,
Okay, I have completely different questions. Can you go to the sewer map, the sewer zone map?
Oh, the sewer, okay.
And this may be for Marcus, I don't know, but let me throw it out there before you walk up here. This is new information for me. I had not seen the city classified in this way previously, and it's good to know. How much of the projects that would need to be completed to get to implement any of that additional housing capacity are already in our capital improvements plan? And maybe I guess that has to be a question for Marcus. The improvements that would be necessary, are they already in our plan, or are these over and above if we got a residential development in one of these places that was significant, we would have to add new projects?
Thank you. Nice work, Desmond. Mayor Kozlowski, Marcus Yasutaki, Environmental Water Resources Director, members of the council. None of the projects that would be proposed to meet these capacity concerns are in an existing capital improvement plan.
Okay, so increasing the residential density in these areas would trigger the need for projects over and above what we have already planned in the CIP?
That is correct.
Okay, excellent. What is the principal thing that would be triggered if you had a dense residential project in the area that's identified as red?
Mainly capacity in Folsom Boulevard for sewer generation, but there are some smaller localized projects within kind of the Glen area near and Park Shore area that would potentially require some improvements as well.
Is it capacity of pipes, or is it pump stations or something?
Capacity of pipe.
Okay, gotcha. And then this one's just kind of a random question. The exit point for all of the waste generated here, does it all go to one place and then gets pumped down to regional sand, or do we have multiple exit points from the city?
Multiple exit points. So the 27-inch shed, or that's denoted in red, typically, for the most part, follows the alignment of Folsom Boulevard when it gets into the 27-inch main.
Okay.
And then that gets to the intersection of Blue Ravine. And near Blue Ravine is where part of the 33-inch shed then comes in. And then we've got the FE3 shed and the FPA shed that comes in along Iron Point. They all eventually meet near Iron Point and Folsom Boulevard. And then from Folsom Boulevard, there's a main that runs down to Sac Sewer, and it just collects from different agencies as it gets to Sac Sewer.
But in that southwest corner of the city, all of these collect and end up in a singular pipe that heads down to regional sand?
That is correct. It's
Okay.
probably just south of Iron Point and Folsom Boulevard.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Just curious. And Desmond, excellent work with the presentation. It was very comprehensive. Thank you. All right. Do we have any requests to speak? I'm going to open the public hearing.
We have no request to speak under this item.
Okay. Anybody been motivated by our discussion to make a public comment? Okay. I'm going to close the public hearing. I will entertain a motion on any of these three items or further discussion.
All right, I'll go ahead and start. I will move resolution number 11250.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on 11250.
Council members Rodriguez?
Yes.
Rohrbaugh?
Yes.
Aquino?
Yes.
Chalem-Cherla?
Yes.
And Kozlowski?
Yes.
I'll go ahead and move resolution 11251.
I'll second.
Council members Rodriguez?
Yes.
Rohrbaugh?
Yes.
Aquino?
Yes.
Chalem-Cherla?
Yes.
And Kozlowski?
Yes.
I'll go ahead and move resolution number 11252.
I'll second.
Council members Rodriguez?
Yes.
Rohrbaugh?
Yes.
Aquino?
Yes.
Chalem-Cherla?
Yes.
And Kozlowski?
Yes. Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, may I request a poll from council regarding number 4?
Regarding
Do we have
number-
any consensus to give direction to staff?
On the screen.
On this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so direct the community development to prepare objective design and development standards for targeted areas and zoning code amendments to implement the project.
Go
No
for it.
objection?
What's different than the objective design and development standards we already have under development?
No, these would just be confirmation that we're bringing those back to you for consideration in a month or two, and also the zoning code amendments.
Gotcha. Is there any objection to them doing
I'm a
that?
yes.
Are we good? No objection. Okay, please do that. Outstanding. Thank you very much. All right. Rosario, you ready to talk about RENA a lot when we get
Yes,
to,
I'm
get
ready.
to the county?
Bring it on.
Okay, great.
132 days.
All right, let's move on to new business.
All right, your new business item this evening is item number 18, resolution number 11253. This is a resolution to approve and adopt a citywide pay schedule as required by the California PERS system.
Good evening, Mayor. Welcome back. And council members, Allison Garcia, your Human Resources Director. This item before you tonight is a bifurcated requirement from CalPERS and the state legislature. There is no financial impact from the adoption of this resolution, as this action will not change any employee salary or salary range. PERS requires you to adopt a salary schedule for all positions within the city. The positions are listed as an attachment in the staff report, and most of these have been approved through collective bargaining agreements prior to this item coming before you tonight. Additionally, the state legislature requires that you shall receive an oral report on the changes in salaries, salary schedules, or compensation paid in the form of fringe benefits for local agency executives. And so I'm here tonight to give you that report. Since you last approved the salary schedule, the following changes have occurred to local agency executives, and I do have to read every salary aloud. I'll go fast. Effective October 2020, the new fire chief was appointed at an annual salary of $222,626 with the following fringe benefits: 6.5% deferred comp contribution to a 457 plan, $100 per month tech allowance, $850 per year uniform allowance, 80 hours of admin leave per year. Effective 2021, the following local agency executives receive salary increases. No change to fringe benefits. City manager, annual salary increased to $263,681. Chief of police and fire chief, annual salary increased to $228,192. City Attorney annual salary increase to $224,884. Director of Community Development annual salary increase to $186,913. Director of Environmental and Water Resources increased to $183,794,000. Assistant City Attorney annual salary increase to $172,303. Director of Finance increased to $176,300. City Clerk annual salary increase to $135,608. Communications Director annual salary increase to $132,049. Legal Secretary annual salary increase to $73,000. Admin Support Specialist annual salary increase to $71,750. Legal Analyst annual salary increase to $74,019. Effective October 2021, the new Public Works Director was appointed at an annual salary of $174,300 with the following fringe benefits: 6.5% deferred contribution to a 457 plan, $100 per month tech allowance, $300 per month car allowance, 8 hours of annual or administrative leave per year. Effective November 2021, the new HR manager was appointed at an annual salary of $111,260 with the following fringe benefits: 4.5% deferred contribution to a 457 plan, $100 per month tech allowance, 80 hours of admin leave per year. Effective 2022, the following local agency executives receive salary increases, no change to fringe benefits. Chief of Police and Fire Chief annual salary increased to $247,931. City Attorney annual salary increased to $244,336. Community Development Director annual salary increased to $198,768. Department of Environmental and Water Resources Director annual salary increased to $199,692. Director of Public Works annual salary increased to $181,272. Assistant City Attorney increased to $190,739. Director of Finance increased to $195,165. City Clerk increased to $156,000. Communications Director annual salary increased to $152,000. Legal Analyst increased to $79,664. Admin Support Specialist increased to $77,221. Legal Secretary increased to $78,566. The City Manager declined a salary increase in fiscal year 22-23. Also effective in 2022, the new Library Director was appointed at an annual salary of $122,000 with the following fringe benefits: 6.5% deferred contribution to a 457 plan, $100 per month tech allowance, $300 per month car allowance, 80 hours administrative leave per year. Lastly, effective in 2022, the HR Manager was promoted to HR Director with an increase in pay to $150,000. Change in fringe benefits included a $300 per month car allowance, an increase in deferred comp to 6.5%, no change to tech allowance and admin leave hours. Effective 2023, the following local agency executives receive salary increases, no change to fringe benefits. City Manager annual salary increase to $290,050. Chief of Police and Fire Chief annual salary $262,807. City Attorney increased to $262,611. HR Director increased to $161,250. Community Development Director increased to $210,694. Director of Environmental and Water Resources increased to $214,669. Director of Public Works annual salary increased to $192,148. Assistant City Attorney annual salary increased to $202,183. Director of Finance increased to $209,802. City Clerk increased to $166,920. Communication Director increased to $163,400. Library Director annual salary increased to $127,200. Legal Analyst increased to $84,444. Admin Support Specialist annual salary increased to $81,854. Legal Secretary increased to $83,280. Also effective in 2023, the new Director of Parks and Recs was appointed at an annual salary of $179,000 with the following fringe benefits: 6.5% deferred contribution to a 457 plan, $100 per month tech allowance, $300 per month car allowance, 80 hours of admin leave per year. Those are all the changes to the local agency executives since you last approved the salary schedule. And that concludes my report, unless you have any questions.
Could you repeat that?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor.
So
Welcome
city
back.
council is still $700 a month. Okay, all right, just checking. All right, fantastic. Any questions for our HR director?
No questions.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion on resolution 11253.
I'll go ahead and move resolution 11253.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's call roll.
Council members.
I have a question.
Time out.
So we're going to hear this every year for
Right now, it was broad just because it was the end of a whole negotiation cycle and just the timing of it, because we're changing salary schedules with each bargaining unit, but the goal is to bring it back to council every year.
So the bargaining units, we see their public information. Well, I mean, so are executive staff, but we don't see it like this. So that was pretty kind of eye-opening. It is something we could request to.
There's a website, you can look these up.
I do not want to go to a website, but thank you. Okay. But this is something we could request now that, okay, thank you.
Excellent.
It's all public information.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Yes, you do. We were at Rohrbaugh,
Yes.
Aquino.
Yes.
Chalem-Cherla.
Yes.
Kozlowski.
Yes.
Case you lost count, that was 5-0.
Okay, before we go on to council requests for future agenda, I just wanted to open up an opportunity for our scout that is visiting, undoubtedly working on a citizenship badge. Anything strike you with a question? Okay, excellent. Good luck with your progress on that. Okay, council members, any requests for future agenda items?
I
Rosario?
do.
I don't.
Sorry.
I'm just going to work the way down. Anna, anything?
I do have one. I would like to ask that we have a conversation about a potential council travel policy. I think some of the questions that I would like us to consider are, how should that travel budget be divvied up? Should it be an equal allocation for every council member, or would we rather kind of identify as a council the trips and the conferences and things that we want the city to be represented at, and then try to figure out some sort of rotation? What do we want to require in terms of reporting out about your trip? I know on the Air District Board, there's a standing agenda item about AB 1234, and I think that has something to do with reporting out. I don't know exactly what the requirement is. And then just because we have a little bit of a unique situation this year, kind of food for thought, when we know a council member is going to be going off the council, should we require that if they get a certain allocation, that they can only spend half of that allocation and the other half has to be reserved for the incoming council member? Should you not be able to travel on the city's dime, a taxpayer's dime, within 3 months or 6 months or whatever of going out of office? So I think those are just some of the questions that we ought to just kind of have a preliminary discussion. I don't think this is super high priority, but maybe if we have kind of a light agenda between now and the end of the year or something, that this is just something we could banter for a little bit, and then maybe give staff some direction to draft something.
Yeah, wouldn't hurt to clarify some of that.
We can do a study session on that.
YK, anything? Okay, fantastic. City manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Registration for Folsom Parks and Recreation Fall Programs is now open. Residents can explore the digital fall activity guide today and discover a variety of family-friendly events, recreational classes, and enrichment programs for all ages. Congressman Kevin Kiley stopped by the Folsom Public Library today to present our library director, Tom Grunison, with a certificate for being voted the favorite library in California's 3rd Congressional District. The library has been nominated for the National Medal for Museum and Library Service, the nation's highest honor for institutions that make significant and exceptional contributions to their communities. The library was commended for their commitment to promoting education, enriching lives, and connecting the diversity of the Folsom community. And last year, if you didn't know, the Folsom Library saw nearly 200,000 visitors and checked out more than 500,000 items. The City of Folsom will hold a series of town hall meetings on Folsom's financial outlook and funding needs. City leaders will provide a presentation on the city's financial outlook and funding needs, followed by a Q&A session for community members to share input and ask questions. And our town hall meeting schedule is Thursday, September 26th at 6 p.m. in the library, Tuesday, October 1st, 11 a.m. on Zoom, and Thursday, October 10th at 6 p.m. at Mangini Ranch Elementary School. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, excellent. Council comments.
I just have one. couple weeks ago, Elaine Anderson gave notice that she was retiring, and it really I was able to look back at the years, because I was sitting out in the pews back in 2018 on the day that you took this job. And so I know that we'll celebrate you in the months to come, but I just really had a reflection about just your leadership the past 6 years that I've actually, 2 that I sat in the chambers, and then 4 now, almost 4 that I've been on this council. And I just want to say you're really appreciated for all that you have done for the city, and even prior to taking on this role. And I think it's exciting to get to the point where you get to retire. But the past, it's unfortunate that you've had to spend this part of your career really kind of battling the budget, and when there's not a lot to spend and having to move things around, and that becomes very contentious. And so I've had the privilege of working with some really neat CEOs and back in my corporate world days, and you are incredibly exceptional, and your love for the city has been very apparent, from my observation and what you've done. And so I just want to say is I look forward to celebrating these last 4 months and into your retirement. So
Thank you, Councilmember Rodriguez. That means a lot.
Ms. Roba? Nothing tonight? Okay. YK?
Okay. I got a privilege to attend the Jake's Journey annual event. So they are doing awesome job. Even though we have a very little money, they are trying to raise and help the unhoused to bring to the services. That's a big one. And along the same lines, I think Heart of Folsom is doing another event. Their goal is to build 6 tiny homes in Oak Hills Church campus and offer those to the girls, unhoused girls studying in Folsom Lake College. That's very phenomenal. They want to pave the path to their future while they're studying whatever the courses, the trade education kind of thing. They can stay here. 6 tiny homes. They're coming along, and hopefully they will come and present to us. I'm part of that one of the steering committee. So I just want to bring that one up front. Even if we can change one life at a time, that's a win for this town, one life. And I represented, a mayor at the Sakati yesterday.
Thank you.
The low floor vehicles are coming, especially for the people disabled. You don't have to go to the front side engine, be waiting for the driver to load you in. You don't have to. I think they are rolling in a week. And it's coming up, and some of them are going to come to city of Folsom. So I'm excited. That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for doing that. I was a little jet lagged, but we'll get to that in a moment. So thank you for letting me take a nap during that meeting.
I just have a few things. Wednesday, October 2nd is Clean Air Day, and I know the Air Quality District will be promoting some events, but I would love if the city could do something as well, maybe even partnering with the school district to encourage folks to walk or bike to school, plant a tree, all those sorts of things. So I'll talk to you, Elaine, about that. I do want to. We do have an exceptional city staff, and I do want to give some particular thanks because they have been hearing quite a bit from me in the last couple weeks. Joanne Broush, when she spoke from Business from the Floor, talked about, we're kind of finding some things that we need in Folsom Ranch with the opening of Alder Creek Elementary, and she's absolutely right. And I would like to see more communication and coordination between the school district and the city going forward on some of these things, but also realizing that they're their own government agency. They don't come through the planning commission when they're going to build a school and stuff. So there are some things that kind of, creep up that we don't have control over ahead of time. But city staff has been absolutely fantastic. So thank you to Elaine and to Mark and to Zach Bosch. Steve and Tim in the sign shop have been absolutely fantastic. Literally, we tell them one day, hey, we need a pedestrian crossing here, and it's up the very next day. They've just been amazing. Thank you to Chief Hillman and Sergeant Galovich and the motor officers. Folsom PD has been out in force trying to make sure that parents are being safe as they are dropping off their kids the first couple weeks of school. And then I see Jameson is in the audience. Thank you to Jameson Larson for helping We're going to make some improvements to some of the city-maintained landscaping in Russell Ranch, and so I appreciate your efforts on that. And then finally, I just wanted to share, last Thursday I joined many of our city staff at the celebration of life for former city employee Terry Hemley, and I would describe it as heartwarming and humbling. It was very heartwarming because there were so many city staff members there, current and retired staff members, not just from the finance department, but from every single department. And Elaine and Stacy and Steve and others spoke beautifully about Terry's relentless work ethic, her encyclopedic knowledge of the budget, her can-do attitude, her genuine respect for her colleagues. And it was heartwarming, but like I said, it was humbling. And this is what I want to share with my colleagues. And we have 3 city council candidates who are in the audience tonight. We now have term limits on this council. We can do a maximum of 4 terms consecutively, 16 years. There are staff members here who will be here before we got here, and they'll be here after we leave. And so I think it was a very good reminder for me, and I hope for all of you, that we have an exceptional staff. They are experts, in their own different areas. And it's important that we give them the respect that they deserve. Terry Hemley knew more about the city budget than every council member from here back combined will ever know about the city budget. So just a friendly reminder to all of us. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
All right, excellent. So a couple of quick things. The Folsom History Museum and the Folsom Mayor's Cup golf outings are coming up here in the next several weeks. So if you're a golfer or know a golfer and would like to support the after-school cave program that the city pays for at the 2 middle schools here in town, or the Folsom History Museum, this is an opportunity to have some fun, go golf with me potentially, and support both of those organizations. So that's coming up in the next month and a half or so. Supervisor Frost, our outgoing supervisor, is having a public meeting tomorrow at the library at 6 p.m. if anybody would like to join me for that. That's how I'm going to avoid being at the Planning Commission meeting. And then I wanted to thank my colleagues. I went on a trip with the Greater Sacramento Economic Council to Korea. They very gamely agreed to meet at 8 a.m. one day for a special meeting so that it would only be midnight in Korea when I called in for that call. So I want to thank all of you guys for that. And YK, thank you very much for pinch hitting for me yesterday. My body still has not quite adapted to what time it really is. And then some observations from the trip to Korea and just some explanation of why it is that we were going. The Greater Sacramento Economic Council is an organization made up of 50 CEOs of corporations here in the Greater Sacramento area, which roughly is the territory that's covered by SACOG also. So the 6 counties, or the 5 counties that surround Sacramento County and Sacramento County. And it also has elected representatives on the board of directors, 22 of them, 1 each from each of those 6 counties, and then 1 from each of the major population cities in the region. Folsom holds 1 of those seats. Generally speaking, the mayor is the one that represents us there. So we were making a trip. The Greater Sacramento Economic Council's role in the world is to try and encourage businesses to move to our area or to expand here, and to promote what the great things are about the area. So the trip to Korea was twofold. It was to meet with businesses that are already doing business in our area to try and thank them for recognizing the wonderful things about us and planting their flag here, and then to ask them to expand, right? And it was also to forge some bonds with some new organizations that are potential, candidates to join us here in Sacramento area. The main reason that I went is because here in Folsom, as everybody knows, Intel is one of our major employers and has been here since the 80s. Around Intel, that has built up an ecosystem of businesses that are in the chip manufacturing and design business. So we also have a company called Kioxia and Micron and Samsung and SK Hynix is nearby in Rancho Cordova and a number of others. And particularly with Samsung, if any of you saw my State of the City address, they've just recently opened an office here in Sacramento, or in Folsom, and I wanted to thank the executives there. So we prepared the staff prepared a resolution by the council for me to present to them in person in Korea, which was very cool, well received. Before I could even get a word out, the two executives that we were meeting with, who are the head of the chip division and the head of design within the chip division, volunteered all the reasons why they're so delighted that they moved some of their operations to the area, and that was recognizing that the Sacramento area generally is much less expensive than being in the other more populous parts of the state of California, but close to all the things that are important about the tech business in California. So being in Folsom particularly, they get the benefit of having relatively inexpensive power supplied by SMUD, lots of great clean water delivered by the city of Folsom, and a lower cost of living than anywhere in the San Francisco Bay Area or Los Angeles or San Diego. So they volunteered that, and I was like, thank you for confirming that, and I don't have to sell you on it. But the rest of the trip was visiting with other companies and our group, presenting all of those facts about why they should move or expand here in Greater Sacramento. So I was joined on the trip by Paul Lau, who's the CEO of SMUD, Gary May, who's the chancellor of the University of California at Davis, and some key staff members of his. David Sander, who is the mayor of Rancho Cordova, was there for the same reason I was there, to meet with SK Hynix, which is another large chip manufacturer. Phil Cerna from the Board of Supervisors was there, and then the commercial developers of Aggie Square, which is the big UC Davis project that's being built by the hospital. And collectively, we took turns sort of being the stars of the show and making different presentations. Two really cool, so I'll leave it right there. Anybody that has questions, I'm happy to talk to you about Korea or about any of those individual businesses. But three main observations I take away. If we want to be anything like South Korea, the city needs a mascot, and we need a mascot costume.
Love it.
We had this conversation earlier tonight about sort of densifying some of the developed areas. We definitely do not want to densify in the way that Seoul, South Korea is densified. Seoul is, if you have never been there, it's roughly in geographic expanse. It's about the size of Los Angeles, but it is 3 times as many people. So you literally can't turn in any direction and not see a complex of 8 or 10 or 12 high-rise apartment towers that are 25 or 30 stories tall. They're everywhere. It's amazingly densely populated there. And then if you do decide to go to South Korea, you absolutely have to spend some time practicing with chopsticks, because they use skinny, flat metal chopsticks, not the nice wooden tack ones that you can feel really well at all of our sushi restaurants. So you got to get good with chopsticks if you're going to go there. So that's my report on this past week.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, everybody. All right, we are adjourned.